with Conservative incumbent MP Tracy Gray for the riding of Kelowna Lake Country. Tracy, welcome back to the campaign, and why do you believe you deserve a second term in Kelowna Lake Country?
Great, well thank you, Wayne, and it's really great to be here today. Well, we have now 6 years under the Trudeau Liberal government, and what it has led us to is unmanageable debt. We have increases in inflation, ethics scandals, we have cost of housing, affordability. We have so many issues, and small business owners, farmers have been hit really hard. And so I'm here to continue to stand up for the community. I've lived and worked and contributed, volunteered in this community for a long time. I moved here in 1989, and I think it's really important to have a representative that is living here, you know, that's really contributed to the community and really cares about representing our community. So part of what I've been doing for a long time is outreach. I'm always asking people to give me feedback. And so this is why during the time while I was an MP, I had a report that went out every 2 weeks in all different forms of media, and people would send me input. They would phone me, they would email me. I've done a number of outreach in the way of surveys that went to every household, and thousands of people wrote back with their thoughts, which was really helpful. And just within the last few months, I did a number of roundtables on very important topics. Of course, economic has been a real top issue for people here. So one that was tourism, another one was small business, affordability, housing, and mental health, and had a lot of stakeholder groups there that work directly in those fields or those industries, getting lots of feedback from them, which was really beneficial. And we actually added up the cumulative of how many organizations they represent, which was over 5,000 in the community. So for me, it's been really important to engage, you know, gain feedback, and then I can go back within my caucus, bring suggestions forth, and also, you know, maybe it leads to questions in question period, or you know, some other way that we can write a minister and, you know, bring things forth. So for me, it's about, you know, being the voice of the community and be able to bring forth their issues and concerns.
What are those issues that are top of mind for your constituents, and what would Tracy Gray and a Conservative government do to address those issues?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, and so part of it right now is door knocking. And so that's a really great way to get boots on the ground and really hear from individual people. So if you remember during the 2019 campaign, it was a big part of me reaching out to the community. I personally door knocked on over 30,000 doors. And it's not something that I just wanted to be like a campaign thing. When I became the Member of Parliament, I would also door knock on the weekends when I was home. So I might only be home for 30 hours, you know, fly home Friday night, fly out on Sunday, and I would go out for a few hours on Saturday door knocking, saying, you know, I'm your Member of Parliament, what's important to you, what can I bring back? And so now here, then I had to stop it though because COVID hit. So now it's really great to be out at the doorsteps again. And a lot of what I'm hearing pretty consistently, first of all, a lot of people are not happy that the election has been called. This is a $600 million election. And when the election was called, we had ash falling from the sky. So it just really shows how out of touch you know, the Liberals are with our area here. We had ash falling from the sky, people were evacuated, people lost their homes, and so, you know, we had extra COVID restrictions here compared to other parts of the country. So a lot of people aren't happy, first of all, regardless of their political affiliation, that we're in an election and that they're having to deal with this on top of everything else going on in their life. So I would say that that's a first thing. The second thing is I had mentioned, has to do with affordability. Like, just the cost of everything is going up. So inflation is causing increased costs in gas, in housing, in food, you know, in everything. So that's affecting everyone, whether they're a young family or a senior that's on fixed income. So those are two topics that, you know, that I would say are top of mind. Of course, people are concerned about their kids or their grandkids being able to afford a house. And so I do see more multi-generations living together because they're trying to figure out how they're going to save for a down payment, and how they're going to come together as a family to maybe help each other. And then, you know, just overall mental health, and you know, there's just so many issues. But small business owners, of course, have been hit really hard. during this time. And most businesses here are small businesses, and of course farmers. So farmers have had a really tough time. They weren't, most of them weren't applicable for a lot of the programs the way that they were structured. So they've had to sort of, figure things out themselves. There's different parts called agri-stability that really doesn't work for them. So I did a huge farmer outreach this summer where I went out and met with farmers all up and down the valley. Everything from, Okanagan Lavender, who has, she has one employee now, long time, a family farm there, to, some of the large cherry orchardists who have hundreds of employees, and have heard all of their input as to what's working, what's not. Immigration is an issue. Getting their farm helpers are a big issue for them. So I think it just depends on where someone is in life. They've got different topics, but there's a lot of similar themes for sure.
I know when you sat on City Council, social issues were a big mandate for that council. They still are, from the affordability of housing to the availability of supportive, low-rent subsidized housing for people that need a place to live. We have not really had a housing strategy in this country for years at a national level. How could a Conservative government bring in a housing strategy that would increase supply, which is what we're hearing is what's needed more than maybe bringing down costs?
Mm-hmm. So that's a really good point, because the Liberals actually have a national housing strategy, and I know that the former Trudeau staffer, now turned candidate, that is back here in Kelowna, has been speaking about this, but it has been a failure for the last 6 years. One part of that in particular is it's what's called the new first-time home buyers incentive, and we called on the government to scrap that program, and it's been a hallmark of their housing strategy. And what that is, it's where the government actually takes equity in your home, and it was to give housing to 100,000 people across the country, and literally there's been a very small percentage of people that have taken that up, because if you think about it, they said, well, if your home price goes down or if it goes up, then we're partnering. But I mean, when have housing prices gone down? So in fact, if you sold your home, you'd be giving the government, some of the profit. So it hasn't worked at all. During my time in Parliament, we had actually put forth, in order to, we had a number of objectives, but one of them was to ban foreign buyers, and the Liberals voted it down. Now we see it's in their platform, and it was actually in our platform that we released a few weeks ago. So they've copied that from us. But we've got a number of things in there. We're talking about revisiting the stress test, which we know has been revised, and in fact a lot of analysis has shown that it's not helping the very people that it should. We're looking at temporarily banning foreign ownership of people coming into the country. We do see the trickle down. This is a huge problem in Vancouver, and we do see it trickling down, of course, to the Okanagan here. It just increases housing prices. As part of our strategy, it's all online. People can go and look at all of our details. Another part that's in there is that we would work with municipalities in order to, to do funding, but also to make sure that it works where there's transit plans, and to work with municipalities to make sure that they're turning around applications. I would say, Kelowna here, compared to other municipalities, is, the team here, I know that even when I was on City Council, we would get a lot of feedback from developers, say from the Lower Mainland or from Edmonton, saying, boy, the process here in Kelowna was actually, quite streamlined compared to other municipalities. So, but there might be other ones that we know that it's very lengthy processes to get anything processed.
We have to address the elephant in the room, vaccinations. I'll ask, have you been?
So what I'm going to say is that I have followed all of the guidelines right from day one, that are health directives, and that includes around vaccinations. I don't believe that people should have to declare to media or on Twitter what their personal health choices are. Justin Trudeau himself in the House of Commons had said this should be a conversation between you and your doctor, and so for people to be asking publicly, what I will say is that I have followed all health guidelines, including vaccinations.
Do you not believe, though, that as a political leader and somebody who constituents and people look up to. In a situation we're in now, when we're in the fourth wave, people are fed up with what's going on and just want to get back to a normal life and get this over and get as many people vaccinated. Don't you think that there is a responsibility on you to promote vaccines, and part of that being to say, yes, I have, or no, I haven't, or whatever the case may be?
So over the last year and a half that we've been in this time, I have been a strong advocate for vaccines and for acquiring vaccines. It was actually part of my role in Shadow Cabinet, and to get vaccines into Canada, to make sure that they were distributed efficiently and quickly across the country, and to advocate to the government to roll the vaccines out. I've stood in the House of Commons, advocating strongly to get vaccines specifically to Kelowna Lake Country. So I have been right out there. We've called emergency meetings and committee meetings with the minister about vaccines. So as part of my role, I have been very active to make sure that we do get vaccines. So it's actually been part of what I've been doing right from the very beginning.
Problem with that sometimes is that Parliament can be a bit of a black hole when it comes to ordinary Canadians. It's going on, it's happening, but they don't follow who's saying what in Parliament. One or two tweets or something on social media, wouldn't that help as well?
Well, anyone can go back and look at all of the statements that I've made. I've put many of them on social media. So I quite often will say, because sometimes people will say, oh, how do you get to know the candidates? And I'll quite often, and this is for anything, any level of government for any election, I'll say, you know what, if you really want to know what someone's been working on, you can look just during the campaign, which is usually about a month, but go back and look over the last several years. Scroll back through their social media and you'll actually see, what they've been working on and what they've been saying and what they've been standing up for. So that's something that I usually say to anyone that wants to get to know candidates at any time and what they've been working on.
Just 24 hours after Castanet News asked Tracy Gray that question, she released a campaign video clarifying her vaccination status. Here it is in her words.
This one has been a little tough for me to talk about. I always think that having privacy is important and personal health information is important. I think for those of us, most of us, thinking a couple years ago, if somebody was going to ask us our personal health information, it's something that most of us wouldn't have even thought would happen. But here we are. Everyone's at their different pace. I know my husband, for example, has openly talked about the fact that he's double vaccinated. For me, it's taken a little bit more time. So I am here to tell you today that I am vaccinated, and I was before the election was called.
Lastly, I'll give you an opportunity to address your constituents. Look in the camera and say, why should Tracy Gray be given another 4-year term?
Great. Well, thank you, Wayne. Well, thank you very much for honoring me with serving you over the last almost 2 years before this early election was called, and it would be an honor to serve for you again. Know that I'm very committed and dedicated to this community, and look forward to seeing you at the doors and hearing what's important to you and standing up for you in Ottawa. And it's really important that we have a local representative that is very in tune with the community and will stand up for the well-being of our constituents in Ottawa. So thank you very much.
Tracy Gray, incumbent Conservative MP, Kelowna Lake Country. Thanks for this and good luck September 20th.
Great, thanks for having me on.